and we will get started. Thank you so much for taking time to be here. I first have to just applaud you, whether you're a real estate professional or a loan officer. Now is the time to be fully engaged in your life and your business and learning new skills and being curious and being open-minded and being hopeful and being optimistic. And it's choices like this one to spend time with people who really, really care about you. Like Keri and I talk weekends, we talk nights, we brainstorm. We are obsessed with helping people be successful in this industry, because I think what you'll learn from both Keri and I is that we are average girls that just have an above average desire, that had this like drive to be competitive or to be successful or to prove somebody that we could do it. And we've gone on to make millions of dollars in this business. But more importantly, and what we are both so proud of, is help other people build solid careers, build six-figure incomes, build wealth, take one of their parents and make them a stay-at-home parent, move into the neighborhoods they want, buy the bigger homes, like accomplish dreams in their career. And Keri and I are both those people that believe that anybody with a big enough desire can learn anything. I don't care what your personality is. We don't care what your background is. We don't care how long you've been doing this. We believe that you can learn it. And so today is going to be very, very tactical. I'm just so excited for you to meet Keri Shull. For all of you, one of the key motivations for me to have Keri as a guest today is not only do I think everything that she's going to teach is 100% applicable and what you need now, but also because Keri is one of our speakers at my Path to Wealth event in Reno, Nevada, November 12th through the 14th. I'm going to drop the information into this chat. This event will be the best real estate event of the year, I promise you, because I've gotten to handpick everybody and curate the speakers. And the people that I've curated are the ones that are in the trenches right now, kicking ass and winning right now. And not just in one segment of their life, not just in business, and then they go home to a crappy marriage or, hide behind, toxic positivity, but like people that are genuinely looking to be on fire in all areas of their life, that have a wealth plan built and that are willing to turn around and say, hey, here are the steps that I've taken to get where I'm at, and here's where I'm going. Because I believe that you've got to see it to then believe it, to then do it. And for me, and I know, Keri, you can speak to this, my greatest growth in my whole professional career is when I've gotten out of my own little hometown, out of my own circle, been exposed to bigger thinking and bigger success, and thought, well, why not me? And so, Keri, I'm so honored that you are going to be flying from Washington, D.C. to Reno, Nevada on November 12th to speak. I've seen you speak on stages all over the country. You personally, I just want to get this right, but you and I are both, well, you're only 42. I thought you were 43 like me.
Maybe I am 43. 1981.
You're 43. I'm like, did I write that wrong? But anyway, you and I both been in this business since our mid-20s. You went to Penn State, got involved in real estate, worked for a builder, then rolled into retail. I think your story is it took you 2 or 3 years to be doing 300 transactions a year. You then went on to continue growing and building a team. You had your own boutique brokerage for years. Your team, your best year ever was $732 million in real estate sales, like 1,100 sales going down. So when you talk about having to be process-oriented, having to be system-oriented, you've done it as a small team, you've done it as a large team. And now you coach through your own coaching practice through Hyperfast. You're also an investor. I mean, there's so many things that you bring to the table. So without further ado, everybody, please give it up to Keri Shull. It's yours.
Thank you, Shayla. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I am obsessed with process, and something when agents, lenders, when you guys think about what drives most real estate professionals, right? A lot of people, as they progress in their career, work toward the listing side. And for me, I'm so focused on impact And so the buy side is where I get the most emotional gratification. So I'm really going to be focusing on the buy side. And I want to just share with you, because I love that emotional gratification and I wanted to be able to do the buy side at scale. I became obsessive with every piece of the process and making sure that I could take incredible care of my clients and also help a lot of clients at the same time. So not only have I done that for my own business and for the agents on my team, I've helped team leaders around the country train their teams, and many of those leaders net over $1 million. So I'm super proud of that. My hope for everybody today is that you leave this with notes about little tweaks that you can insert into your current process. And for some of you, your process is working. So maybe it's like, hey, this, and this are working for me, but I'm going to add this. Treat it like a menu. And we're just going to walk through exactly, share my screen here. There we go. What I recommend that you think about adding to your process. Okay. So the timeline of working with a buyer. So we do a buyer needs analysis first every single time, right? We want the client to feel like we care deeply about them and what's important to them first. Then we talk them through the process. At the end of discussing the process, people are like, when do you sell yourself? I'm like, well, that's part of the process. But we're really careful about how we do that, because if you're like me, I actually like skin crawl when I feel like someone's trying to sell me. I hate it. I have like a very adverse reaction. So I'm really careful when we're creating a duplicatable process that we're aware of the reaction that people have. Like in the chat, how many of you guys hate being sold to? I'm just curious. There's over 100 of you here. How many of you are like, oh, please don't sell me something, and you have an adverse reaction to it? A couple of you. Okay. So only a few of you are as intense as I am about it. I hate it.
There
Okay.
was some hates and loathes.
Loathe. Okay. All right, good. So a couple of people feel like I feel about it. So then getting the buyer commitment signed. What's interesting, about 30% of our business historically was done off market. Okay. So that means that we're going out and finding potential sellers to sell something to a buyer that we're working with. So we were really diligent forever and always in getting the buyer agreement signed up front. Since the very beginning, when I started building a team, I got in the resale side of the business in 2008. And one of the things that's unique about my background, I started in new home sales, and I watched so many real estate agents work so hard, and I saw the buyers come back without them, guys. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be in that boat where I'm out spending time away from my family and my friends and myself with clients that aren't committed exclusively to working with me. So I'm going to talk about how tactically, how to get that commitment every single time, and then how to use data to do a really good job adjusting your client's expectations so you can sell more houses to the people that you meet with, and then how to dial in your follow-up strategy and make it so that you have to do less work to win at scale. So we're just going to dig into each of these things.
So what I just want to highlight, it's about building trust, like so that you're not that slimy salesperson and feeling like I want to commit to you. Like you are so great. I want to commit to you. And then having a process that saves you time.
Yes, 100%.
So guys, if we accomplish that today, gaining you more trust, saving you time, and getting people more committed to you and working with only those that are committed, will this be a valuable call? Put it in the chat. And somebody in Atlanta, help Mike B. I love that referrals or something are already happening in the chat. How rad is this?
Oh, that's awesome. That is amazing.
All right, we're ready for it, Keri. Let's go.
Okay, so buyer needs analysis. This is not rocket science. Like it is not. It's a super simple form that anybody can do, right? That takes you through all of the questions. I believe all of you have a process that you naturally go through where you uncover the needs. The most important thing in this process, in my opinion, is getting to the emotion behind the need. Okay. So I think sometimes as you're digging, there's a tendency to get uncomfortable when there's pain or urgency or someone pushes away from the topic. And that's exactly like the aha button of where you need to go. Because if there is an emotion behind why the need is there and you don't uncover it, when the transaction gets hard, you can't hold it together. So in the olden days, when I was training agents, I would say, you're going to have a client that gets really emotional and really upset and wants to back out of the transaction 1 in 7 times. Okay. There's going to be an issue with their financing. There's going to be some issue. The home inspection is going to absolutely freak them out, whatever it is. Today in our market, there's more hesitation, right? 1 in 3 transactions, if you cannot help ground the client in the actual emotion of what will change in their life when they make the decision, the transaction will fall apart. How many of you guys in the chat are seeing that? More deals are going sideways than ever before. Am I right about that? But I'm going to give you an exact example, right? So I picked this picture because it's like every parent's nightmare, right? The child's trying to show you something that you're proud of and you're ignoring them. So if a family tells you we need 4 bedrooms and an office, and you just write that down, and you don't ask how they're going to use the bedrooms or why an office is important to the family, you might not get to the point where you understand that currently there's not enough bedrooms in their house and they're trying to work in open space where their kids are, and they actually feel like they're not present parents and they're not showing up the way that they want to. And when you start going there, people get emotional. Like even saying that out loud, it makes me emotional when you feel, I have 4 children and I am obsessed with them, right? When you feel as a parent like you're not showing up the way you want to for your kids, that is a dagger in the heart, right? So if you didn't uncover that that was causing pain and tension and even tension in the marriage, right? Maybe it's one of them has an office and the other doesn't, and it's creating marital stress. If you don't get all the way to that emotion, when things get hard, you can't help them pull through. When they dig in their heels about a home inspection item, you can't help refocus their attention on where they want to go. And ultimately, those moments when you help them refocus are what make them clients for life and make them value what you brought to the table, because they will recognize, whoa, I almost walked away from what I actually want over $2,200. Like, holy crap. Good thing Keri was there to talk us off the ledge, right? Or good thing my agent was there. You want that experience. So the biggest thing I will say about that process up front, nothing else works the way it needs to if you can't drive all the way to what will be exciting for them and what pain will they move away from by making this change. Okay. Now, the next piece is the buyer process. So for us, we have always had a buyer presentation. Okay. That encompasses, well, before I say what it does, what I would recommend is that you never say presentation. So we call it our process. So when I'm telling somebody about it, I'm not like, now I'm going to present to you. They won't respond positively to that. So you want to what's in it for me transition. You want to go from talking about them to transitioning over to walking through the process. And everybody wants to feel, we talk a lot about the DISC personality types. I just woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning the other day to record this training because I was studying it again. I was like really into it. And everything goes back to talking to people and meeting them where they are, and different personalities care about different things. So if you haven't studied that, by the way, go on YouTube. Just type in, I'm a total nerd. I actually still do this all the time. disc training videos, and whether they're teaching someone how to sell a pen or a copier or a house, it's going to benefit you because you're going to learn how to recognize what type of person someone is and how to show up for them to support their emotional needs in the process, right? So when you're doing the transition, I typically say something like this. I'm just going to role play it with you because I think how you transition really matters, and it can turn people off or on really easily.
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's imagine Shayla. Shayla, will you be my buyer?
Yes, happy to.
Okay. So Shayla, I feel like I have a really good sense of what's important to you and your family and a home and what's going to really light you up and make you excited about taking this next step. Now, what I'd like to do is make sure that I answer all of your questions about the process of buying a home. Does that sound okay to you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So notice this is like a small thing. You always check for acceptance. Because if she in her mind is thinking deeply about, yeah, but what is my monthly payment going to be? She's not going to be able to listen to you, and you're not going to be in sync, and you're going to be out of alignment, and you might not know why. So the transitions are when you want to ask for that acceptance and set an agenda. Okay. So the point, in my opinion, of a presentation is to educate your client on the process so they feel comfortable, because someone who doesn't feel comfortable can't focus, right? To showcase your value and ultimately to get their commitment to work exclusively with you. So I didn't have time today to go into our whole presentation, but I have courses online. You can look me up if you want to walk through every slide and why we say what we say, and you want to copy it, by all means. You absolutely can do that. The pet peeve is now I'm going to tell you about me and my team and why you should use me. I just feel like that is so out of alignment with making the client feel cared about. So instead, weave that into answering their questions about the process and showcase what is different about you, right? So what do all buyers want? Like Shayla, very basic. What comes to your mind that all buyers want?
They want the right house at the right price.
Yes, that's it. They just want the right house, right? So sometimes I say, like, you need to hit people with a logic hammer. And ultimately, what they want is a house. So if they want a house and you're trying to be valuable, oh, I forgot. This is my other pet peeve. Going back to the pet peeve slide. Huge pet peeve. Everybody in the industry right now is saying this: show your value. Show your value. I'm like, okay, some people are sitting in their chairs saying, how? How do I do that? How do I show up and be valuable? So I personally believe what you can do to be valuable is to find the client houses. Now, that might sound basic. It is basic. It is literally basic. And when we walk through the other steps, you're going to see how you show them, wow, my agent is so proactive and my agent is doing things that other agents aren't doing, and I should refer them to everyone that I ever meet that has a heartbeat that wants to buy or sell a house. That's what you want. You want to create a cult-like following, right? So one thing you can do to be valuable is find off-market properties for your clients, guys. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of times they're not going to buy one of the off-market properties that you find them. But the way they feel about the job that you do for them when you are consistently finding off markets, and almost as importantly, telling them what you're doing to find off market properties for them, they're like, wow. They're talking to their friend at lunch at work, and their friend's like, oh, yeah, I'm looking buying a home. They're like, oh, did your agent go door knocking for you? Like, they start asking questions to other people about what their agents are doing because you're doing so much to show them that you're not like everybody else. So I came up with like 3 things that I believe every single person listening to this can do for free. Because some of you guys say, oh, but like I'll train team leaders on this. And you know what they do? They use our buyer presentation and they delete these slides. I'm like, what just happened? I don't have off markets like you do. I'm like, yes, you do. You have the MLS, you have it. So this is super simple, guys. Number 1, search rental listings that rented 6 to 12 months earlier, right? You know that the tenant's lease is coming up. So if your clients were to make the landlord an offer, that could unlock inventory for your client. Does that make sense? Next one, look at for sale by owners, expireds and withdrawns that match your client's criteria. Like this seems so obvious, but it's so interesting. I'll talk to a room with 1,000 people and they're like, oh, I guess I don't have that as a consistent part of my process, right? And the last one, export a list of the listing agents that have sold in the neighborhood in the last year and text them. You're building a relationship with the people who are most likely to have a listing first. It's crazy how many deals you can get done by just offering that back and forth. And if you have an off market to share with them that you have, you can always then try and sell your listing at the same time. So it's like, amazing. Okay. Now,
I have to just pause for a minute because when I first got into coaching, and you and I were in the same coaching program for years. In fact, you guys, Keri was the #1 agent at the core training for years. And just incredible to watch you coach and speak and grow. But the interesting thing for me, being a high D personality, when I was told host networking and happy hours for agents to get together. And I remember thinking, why? Why would agents want to hang out with other agents? That's their competition. Like, why the hell would they want to go to a happy hour or something? Because for me, that's just not how I think or function. And it didn't dawn on me to realize that A, most agents do like other agents and people and networking. They're not high D personalities that are introverts. But also B, that you don't get deals done without always being partnered with another agent, and your relationships and your brand and your friendships matter. But number two, the only other person that lives and dies by selling a house is a real estate agent. It's like, why wouldn't you call other people whose entire livelihood is the same as yours? Like, we have a reason to work together. We have a win-win relationship. And that was a profound aha for me. And from that point on, I've tried to be in my local market, and I would say this to every loan officer in the market, to be the facilitator, to be like, oh my gosh, you don't know Keri? Keri, you got to come meet Lee. Lee, you don't know Donnie? Donnie, you've got to meet Alexandra. And I'm helped facilitating those things for just the exact reason that you said, Keri, that we've got to be friends and work together, and deals are in those relationships. So
100%. And when agents, it's interesting because when agents go from thinking of each other as competition to collaboration, all the people at the top think about it that way. But the people that are new sometimes don't. And so as soon as you shift your mindset there, then all of a sudden you're supporting each other and getting deals done. And it's so much fun because you're working with people you love working with. Yeah. Okay. So getting the buyer to commit. Okay. I think that this is something, once you've shown them, okay, I care deeply about you and what you want. I'm going to go all out to make sure that you feel comfortable, to make sure that we're anticipating. One of our core values is anticipating needs, right? We always want to be ahead of where our client is. So we're talking about that, being very proactive, right? All the way through the process. So if they feel like, okay, this person truly understands and cares, they're going to make sure that I'm not blindsided and I know what's coming in this transaction. And they've already walked me through in a very professional, methodical way exactly what to expect financially. In our presentation, we tell them what we charge. We're not going to say, I'm just going to say X because it's such a hot button right now. We charge X, right? And in many cases, we can have the seller pay for that, but we talk about it directly. Now, because forever we've always done off markets, I've always said there are going to be situations where the seller is not going to pay the compensation. If I go knock on a seller's door for you, one of the reasons you want to hire me is because I'm going to do the extra work to find you properties no one else knows about, right? They're always like, yes. Well, in that situation, we may have to structure my compensation into the transaction because the seller is not coming to the table anticipating they're going to sell. Does that make sense? Yes. Okay, great. So that's how we're going to structure it. So we just directly say, here's how we're going to do it. Here's why it makes sense. And the other thing that I've been saying to agents, and for some of my agents, it like clicked the other day. Nothing really has changed. Nothing. Like, if you think about it, in the olden days, the commission was built in these deals, and the price reflected building in the commission. Okay, so draw a line in the sand. What's happening now? You're negotiating the deal, and the only difference is you have to be confident enough to explain it to your client and have them go, oh yes, that makes sense. So for me, we did charge a difference to the client if there was a deficit. We've always had a real, and some people are like, what? Well, yes, because the seller is not defining my worth. I'm defining my worth. So some of the agents say things like, well, that's not fair to the client. Well, why not? We've defined what we're going to charge. We're going to charge X. And if there's ever a deficit, you can count on us to let you know that up front so we can figure out how to structure. So we can, thank you, Jeremiah, thank you. So that we can figure out how to structure the agreement. And if it's ever a situation where it's not going to work, we can make that decision and we can decide that we're going to go elsewhere. Right?
You know what I think people's holdback probably is, Keri, is like sometimes when you do a transaction, you show people one house and they buy that one house and you're getting paid 21 days later. And sometimes you work with a client for a year and a half and you're going through credit repair and you're going through loss of a loved one and you're in 2 different contracts that fall apart due to random things or bad inspections. And then now you walk into a new build and you drop them off in the new build supposedly, and they do all the work. And then somebody might look at you and say, well, gosh, I can't believe you're getting paid so much. And so I think it's more about defining your process to say, I hunt for off markets. I update you obsessively. I listen and truly, truly care. And I'm being strategic. I'm networking all the time and always finding the best deal. I'm constantly getting educated and I know the hot tips on the market. I go to every training. I show up to my broker meetings. I'm accountable. I'm professional. Like, it's more about this is how I work every single time. And if on this one deal, I found one house and got paid in 21 days, well, thank goodness, because if you work hard enough, some of them should be easy and some of them are just not going to be that way. And so I think what people are getting twisted about is like, well, what if the buyer found the house and all you did was open the door? Well, we all know that's not just what we do. So I think what's so important about what you're talking about, Keri, and what everybody needs to do is say, okay, how am I going to work every single time? Am I going to pull up FSBOs and expireds every single time? Am I going to go door knock the 3rd Thursday of every month? No. Do I have to go every day? No. But if I do it once a month and I video it and I put it on social and I send out an email to all buyers saying, hey, I just want to tell you what I learned this week, door knocking in this zip code. You know, I met with 5 homeowners and here's what they said and here's what they think. The perception is, and what's important is that you are consistent in doing the same thing. And I think it's those little things that make us look in the mirror and say, I am worth it. It's when we're inconsistent. I know you're so big on this training your team constantly, Keri. It's when we're inconsistent that sometimes we find a buyer we really like and we go all in with them. And the next 2 that we're lazy. And then sometimes we're marketing and door knocking and sometimes we're not. And sometimes we're showing up to trainings and sometimes we're not. Like all this is doing is saying, if you're really a professional, you're not going to have a problem because you are worth it.
Yes. And I want to say there are 2 things. You said you said something that I was like, oh my gosh, I need to reflect this because it's so important. And now I just lost it. Darn it. It was about, I lost it, Shay. But But the idea of the consistency of the activities, that's a piece of it. The other idea is the consistency of the negotiating ability you bring to the table. So this is one of my favorite things to bring up. If somebody says, well, I don't know, because of the quick deal. If the deal happens quickly, often you played a huge part in that. Oh, here's what it was. I got it back. You said that the buyer often thinks, well, I found the home. If you follow my process, that will never happen, ever, ever. And that's one of the reasons that real estate agents have a bad reputation, because they allow their client to lead the search instead of them owning the search. So when we get to the second half of what I'm recommending, I can promise you your client will never say again, oh, well, I found the house. Keri just wrote the contract. That makes them feel like you didn't do your job. But the second piece of what I was thinking actually came from what Jeremiah said about defining your worth. So the other thing I will say to clients, they'll say to you, well, I met with an agent last week that didn't ask me to sign a buyer agreement, or that was willing to do it for 2%. And what I would say to that is, well, there are a lot of agents out there that would probably do it for less than that. What you have to ask yourself, Shayla, is that the type of agent that you want leading the negotiation when you're purchasing the most valuable and expensive asset that you will likely buy in the next 5 to 10 years? So as soon as you start like hitting them again with the logic hammer, like, oh, well, yes, there's people who would probably do it for free. Does that sound like the type of person that you would want negotiating on the largest asset you're going to buy? I know my value. I am an excellent negotiator, and I would imagine you see the value in that, and it's worth it. Because it's not just the price point. Think about it. There's all the other terms that you're negotiating. What if something goes wrong in the transaction, right? There's a lot of things to consider. And so whenever we bring that up, especially when we're competing, I'm like, well, this seems like a very logical decision that you would naturally choose us because we do charge more. And I'm sure you want to hire somebody who's absolutely excellent at negotiating, right? And people are just like, oh, yeah, okay, fantastic. And then you just keep moving. So keeping your energy light is also important. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about some tips. These are quick, easy tips to help make sure that you get the agreement signed every single time. The one thing that I really recommend is being direct. When people are indirect about what they're asking for, it makes the other people feel like they're not sure they can trust you. Okay. And it also makes you lack confidence. So if I get to the end of my whole buyer process, I've asked everything that's important to them, I've walked them through the steps, and then I say, so Shayla, how do you feel? That's confusing. She's like, good. Right? That is like the opposite of being direct.
Yeah.
So if I say, Shayla, I feel really good about being capable of finding you the exact property that you're looking for, and I think we're going to work really well together. Do you feel confident I'm the right agent to help you buy your home? There's no ambiguity. I'm asking her if she feels comfortable hiring me, right? When you're direct, people like that. They're like, yeah, I feel good. When you say, so based on everything we've discussed, how do you feel? Or do you think we'd work well together? Sometimes when people are practicing with me, because I do have my team role play, the things that come out of their mouth, I'm like, are you asking me for your hand in marriage? Like, what is happening? Because I'm not even sure that you're asking me to hire you as the agent. So I think it's important to actually say, do you feel confident that I am the right agent to help you? In your own words, but very clear. Okay. Then the next piece, anticipate objections. People are afraid of commitment. It's a universal truth, right? So if somebody says, oh, I want to also talk to this person and this person. Okay, That makes sense. So Shayla, typically when someone mentions that they want to talk to other agents, there's some hesitation or concern that we didn't yet get to talk about. Can you share with me what that is for you? Get it on the table. Use closing as a way to get clear. And I didn't put this as one of the tips, but it's one of the most important things, and I should have put it. Never close by bringing out paperwork, ever. Always close first. So we have what we call a loyalty slide. It's like a slide where people are shaking hands, and it says, all that we ask for is your loyalty. Every human being believes they're loyal. So in my opinion, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. There might be some people who know that they're not loyal, but they all aspire to be loyal.
That's true.
So when you say, do you want to sign a contract? Are you going to commit to working with me exclusively? When you say those things with paperwork, like, okay, now this is the next step. We're going to do this paperwork. It can really freak certain personality types out. So first, make sure you have them to a yes before you bring out paperwork. That is my recommendation, right? And then when they say things like, oh, I'm not sure, isolate. What else is there? What haven't you talked about? What concerns them? I have a story from one of my coaching clients, and she was on a move up presentation, and it went really well. And she was like, okay, I'm getting the listing. I'm getting him, like, I've got this, right? And then she gets to the end, and he started to get really squirrely when she was closing. And she said the thing about isolation, like, so normally there's something that's causing hesitation, and would you be open to share what that is for you? And he goes, well, it's your age. She's like, oh, okay. Well, let me ask you something. How old do you think I am? Now she knows she has a baby face. So he says like 22, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that you said that. I'm actually 32 and I've been doing this for a long time. And he was like, you're 32 years old? And she goes, yeah. And he goes, wow, awesome. Yeah, okay, I'm good. And they signed the paperwork and moved on, right? But I think when you're afraid to close, and when someone has an objection and you just like move away from it instead of moving towards their fear, you can't solve it. And then if you ask about signing a commitment when somebody's already not clear that they're 100% committed to being loyal to you and working with you, it can go really sideways really fast. And that's when people ghost you, right? So the loyalty is a really easy way to do that. And then here's the other thing. I personally would never want to work with somebody who doesn't want to work with me. I don't know. Any of you feel that way? Like, if somebody hates your guts, are you going to hold them into a contract, guys?
Never.
No, no one in the chat is like me. I'm going to hold them into the contract, right? So for me, before I ask them to sign the agency agreement, we have a cancellation guarantee. And I say, listen, Shayla, one of the things I want you to know, you just said like, yes, I want to hire you. I'm going to be loyal to you. I'm going to be loyal to you. Okay. One of the things I want you to know, we believe in having a relationship where we're really close and we communicate openly. So we offer all of our clients 100% cancellation guarantee. That means every day when I'm waking up, I'm thinking, how do I earn Shayla's business today? I think that's so important in any business relationship. And a lot of real estate agents don't do it that way. We do. And so then they are looking at our cancellation guarantee, and it says, if you're not happy, you can cancel at any time. Then under the buyer agency agreement, there's a little section, and it says other terms. We write the same thing in the actual contract. Okay. So then that is highlighted in yellow. So because I sold a lot of new homes, what I learned is this. When people get nervous, they just start talking and they're trying to distract you. So the really good sales people, in my opinion, are able to chatter while they're getting their focus back on signing. So your body language is important in what you emphasize. So we highlight the cancellation guarantee on a physical piece of paper in yellow. We have the cancellation guarantee, and then right there we have the agency agreement, and highlighted is they can cancel at any time. So if somebody says, well, I want to take it home and read it. Anybody ever heard that one before?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely, Shayla. I want to make sure that you have all the time to process this and feel really, really comfortable. What I'm going to have you do today, though, is go ahead, because tomorrow you can literally email me and say, hey, I'm uncomfortable with this in the agreement. I want to cancel. I'm going to have you go ahead and sign it. I'm going to send you a copy of it. And then that way you can review it at your leisure when you're home, make sure you're comfortable. And of course, if you want to cancel, that's completely your decision. Is that fair?
And let's just be real, like that might feel very scary. But one out of how many do you have to have that conversation with, Keri?
Oh, it is like it never happens. People are like excited. And one of the things I think is important is creating a reason. So if somebody's like, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. Hey, I want you to be 100% comfortable, Shayla. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to read every word on that document so we can talk about any questions that you have. I'm really excited to do our reality check analysis. That's such an important part of our process. And I want to be representing your fiduciary interests so we can talk deeply about the properties. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. I'm going to start working on setting up the search and getting all of the details in order so we can look at the houses that you want to go see. And I'm going to let you just read that and then we'll talk you through your questions. How does that sound? And usually, guys, they're going to say, okay, like, yeah, okay. Now I'll say, hey, no matter who you are hiring, this is a standard document in Virginia. So it's going to be exactly the same. The only difference is I've never met another agent that has a cancellation guarantee. Most people are not willing to invest so much where we go out and we're spending money, sending letters, we're door knocking on the weekends and evenings. Most people would never do that and have a cancellation guarantee. We just believe it's the right way to do business. So we
Fantastic.
don't, like, people will sign. That's the bottom line. They will.
Well, and let's just rewind a couple minutes where you already said, I'm really excited and I feel highly capable of finding you the exact house that you're looking for and confident that I can lead the negotiation and getting you what you want. But I have to ask you, do you feel confident that I'm the right one for you?
Mm-hmm.
And you pause and shut up and smile. And that's generally where people go, yeah, I do feel confident. So yeah, we're talking about a scenario that they've already come to an agreement. Obviously, if you had a bad vibe during the meeting and you don't even want to work with them, or you could just tell that they are putting off the I'm so not into this vibe, you're probably trying to get out of that coffee shop as fast as possible and not trying to force a buyer agreement anyways.
Well, so let's talk about that though, because I think that high Ds can give off a vibe where they're like, can we be done? And guess what? I'm a high D. So if they're giving you that vibe, a lot of times you're a high I. And they're giving you the vibe because you're talking too much. And then when you get nervous, you talk more.
Yeah.
So if somebody is giving you a vibe, listen to them, listen to their feedback, and instead focus on mirroring their pace. And if you switch that, you'll change the vibe of the meeting. So it's amazing to me how many agents, because I think the majority of agents tend to have a lot of I in their personality. That's why they're gratified by what we do. I have a lot of I in mine too, right?
Yep.
But when you become obsessive about being able to meet the client and mirror the client's personality, you learn how to be more concise and succinct in your messaging to a D, because otherwise they start to develop an attitude because they feel like you're being abusive with their time. The other personality that can be very cold and aloof is a C, right? They can be cold and aloof if they feel like what you're presenting is too fluffy and not data-driven enough. A C will love the reality check analysis, like literally will absolutely love it. Okay, I'm going to keep going because the reality check analysis is probably one of the things that I would say is our biggest secret sauce. And all it is not hard. It is not rocket science. It is easy. It is using data to drive decisions. Okay. And so you're going to show the client instead of telling them. So let's imagine, I'm just going to put this out there. I think 85% plus of clients, what they want, they can't afford. They are unrealistic, or what they want is not in their comfort zone. And so if you say to a client, Shayla, you seem great, but I have to tell you, this, and this are unrealistic. Shayla just went from liking you to like you deflated her balloon, and suddenly you're not a favorite person anymore. And that happens like that. So pay attention to the sequence and how we deliver this information. We're going to show them the data instead of telling them what they can and can't have. Then it's about you as partners studying the data as a team to determine what's next and how to best course correct to get you on the same page. Every personality type loves this when it's done correctly, okay? So what you're going to do is go to the MLS and you're going to put in all of your clients' criteria without trying to change it. So if when Shayla and I are doing the needs analysis, I see this all the time, especially with agents that come to my team that have like 20 years of experience. They're like, well, I heard you say you want 4 bedrooms, but could you live with 3? They start like dwindling down. Does the client like that? No.
Oh.
Do not do that up front. Wait. Put all of their criteria as they described it. I want an acre lot 2 blocks from the metro. I want a single family home with a 3-car garage where the lots are like this narrow. Put it all in, right? And then use the MLS data to show them the last 90 days of sold homes. And watch what happens. Don't enter a price range, okay? So if they said, let's imagine Shayla's budget was $1 million, and I put in all of her criteria, all I'm gonna do is look at the last 90 days. I'm gonna click the button for us, the top of our MLS. It'll do it by price range. It'll go lowest to highest if I click that button. So then I'll simply reflect to Shayla. Okay, Shayla, based on all the criteria that you shared with me, you had mentioned you wanted your budget to be around $1 million. It looks like with all of your criteria and the location that you want, the price range would be anywhere from 1.5 to about 2.2 million. So given that, would you be open to increasing your price range, or would you like to look at what we can tweak to get all of your needs met and the perfect home for you and stay in your budget?
Yeah, we probably got to tweak. I probably,
Okay.
Can't have a 3-car. I'll go with a 2-car.
Got you. So they'll start throwing out what they want you to change a lot of the time, but some personalities just get quiet. And when they get quiet, we have this wonderful thing called the circle of truth that we use. It's a little circle. I draw it. Like we have it on all these like beautiful marketing materials. I don't like that. It feels too like planned. So don't worry if you don't have the marketing materials because you don't need them. I take out what we just went through, the needs profile. On the back of it, I draw a circle and I draw little lines, right? And I put price range, home type, locations, and features. And I'll just put it right there with the client and I so we can work on it. And I'll use a technique. We call it stacking. Because if I just say to Shayla, are you willing to consider a townhome instead of a single family home? Shayla, are you willing to live 10 minutes further away from where you ideally wanted to? Like I'm pecking, we call that pecking. It's very annoying. And what you're doing is pecking away at the person's dreams, which pisses them off. Okay. Instead, what you want to do is stack their priorities and have them tell you which is more important. Because instead of then asking her to give up things, you're reflecting the emotional needs that she said. So you're actually grounding her in the fact that you listened carefully to what was important. Okay. And then you're taking those needs and asking her, Shayla, I know that you had mentioned living by the Whole Foods is something that's really attractive to you because you love the salad bar and you're not a chef, right? And you also really liked the idea of not spending too much on your home payment because you love traveling and you try and build in that incredible trip that you go on once a year, that you go all out, right? So let me ask you, if you were trying to decide what's most important to you, the salad bar at the Whole Foods or having that trip? What would be more important?
The trip.
Okay, the trip. So then let's do this. So then you as the professional, you know the market. You have the MLS right there in front of you. What you're going to do is help to adjust her expectations so that she feels heard and like her needs mattered. When people get upset is when you ask them to give up things without sharing with them that you truly understand why it matters, right? Then you just keep going until you get to a point. For us, we always focus on getting to at least 3 properties they would have bought in the last 90 days, guys. Because here's what I think. Like my agents sometimes will say to me, well, we didn't get to the reality check, but I'm just going to go out and look at off markets for them. I'm like, well, if nothing sold in the last 90 days, how's that going to work out for you? It's not, because what it means is that any seller that is educated is going to look at the recent sales when they're determining how they're going to price their home, and the recent sales don't reflect that the price point makes sense. So if you can't find 3, that means you have more work to do on that circle of truth to get to a point that you can find 3. The other advantage is this. I told you up front, I'm obsessed with saving time. If you wait until you show someone a home to show them the comps, here's what they do. They pull in all of the homes that sold around it. They're starting to look on Zillow, right? And they're like, oh, well, the one down the street, that one went for 1.2. So they shouldn't be asking 1.5 for this home. They start doing their own analysis. But the truth is, if you did this up front, it wouldn't have been in the 3 that they would have bought. They would have ruled it out. So this enables you with one little button. All you do is select all on the 3 and run the stats. And then you can say to Shayla, okay, Shayla, so for the properties that are most similar to what you're going to buy, I want to point out a couple of very important things that will help us make the right strategic decisions when we're crafting our offer. 1, the average days on market was 3. 2, the average price compared to the list price was 102.8%. So we're never going to be able to offer the asking price and count on winning. We're going to have to look at the data to drive our decisions, right? And the same people that we're looking at these that just sold are likely going to be looking at the one that we find for you because the criteria is the same, right? So we're going to want to make sure we always get out to properties first, right? So what you're doing is setting yourself up. Then you save this. Absolutely save it. Okay. Then the last piece, and I'm going to push through this really quickly. Having a winning follow-up strategy, you want to make sure that you always schedule a next meeting, always, before you end the meeting. This is like sales 101. If you're selling couches, whatever you're doing, you always do this, right? So if you do that well, and you take that sold search right after your client leaves and you switch it to active, or right before your client leaves, if you have time, you're going to go through and you're going to be able to help them see what they want to go look at and schedule those showings right away, right? But you're going to save it and schedule it to automatically email you and the client. This is the piece where they never say, well, you didn't find the home anymore. Okay. So one thing that's important though, if the email is automatic, you have to assume they never look at it. You have to assume that it is your responsibility to text them immediately whenever something hits the search. So the cadence of how I set up my day, I would always have these things come to my inbox. And I'm going to tell you the second piece, which is actually the most important thing. Most of the time, what they told you they will buy, and those of you who've been doing this for a long time, you already know this. They will tell you X, Y, and Z, and I won't deviate from that. And then they'll buy something that's like a wild card. It's not at all what they said, right? So how you end the meeting is really important because you want to set the expectation that you're going to be screening properties for them. And if the second something hits, you look at it and you text them, the text is either going to be this: Shayla, I just looked at 123 Main Street. It has white cabinets. It has that amazing island setting that was so important for you when you're entertaining, and the backyard's perfect. Would you like to go at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m.? Would you like to go before work or on your lunch break? Like, you're going to get them out to see that home and you're going to have intense urgency about it. Or, hey, Shayla, I just looked at 123 Main Street. The backyard's not going to work for you, so didn't want to waste your time looking at that. Talk to you soon. What it's doing is setting up consistent, reliable communication with the client where you're reinforcing that you listen to them. The way they feel about you is very different than you automatically sending them an email. Okay? But here's the most important part. In that circle of truth, there were areas where you could see if the client would open up their mind, they could unlock additional inventory. So right after they leave, you're going to set up additional searches for yourself. And you're going to black out what the client is automatically getting with you. So as an example, if the client said, we need 4 bedrooms and an office, and you think, well, they could do 3 bedrooms with an office as long as there was a basement, based on the emotional needs they defined, you would send the 3 bedrooms with a basement with the office only to yourself. Then you would save the search and it would say 3 bedrooms with office, Kate and Justin. And then every time those come up, you would know, okay, they're not seeing this. So what I found in my career, I did this with everybody. Agents spend hours doing research. This eliminates that. It does. It makes it so that in your inbox every day, you know you're going above and beyond for your clients and you're giving them the things they need to think about to get them out to see properties that aren't quite in their box, right? So when you text them, you want to acknowledge all the things that made it a good fit. And then you also want to acknowledge what is outside of their criteria and recommend that they take a quick look at it. That's how I sold the majority of homes. Because people would be like, oh, you're right, this kitchen is perfect. Or wow, this really does have the master bedroom that I'm looking for, or the home site, or whatever it is, right? I tried to finish on time. You're muted.
You did an unbelievable job. And you guys, I'm going to put a little poll in the chat because I just want to know, based on what you saw here, and if you're a lender, you can respond to this too, telling us what you see goes down. But a lot of us, we don't know, so it might not be relevant. But I'm going to post this to the chat and I want to know your process. How can I launch this? You're not seeing it, right, Keri?
No, I stopped sharing those, so you can share if you.
Well, I here I was trying to be fancy. Maybe I'm not going to be able to share it.
Maybe.
Okay, screw it. I want to know in the chat, on a scale, 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%, how closely does your process mimic what Keri is doing? That's what I want to know. How close is your process mimicking it? Because what this shares is just a little bit of awareness around, ooh, I'm tight there, but these parts need tightening up. Okay, and this is what I love is that there's always hope, right? Because there's growth. Lee Stevens, you're like literally $100 million producer and one of the best that we've got and highly coached, 70% there. Awesome. 75% Penny, badass, amazing, outstanding agent, 50%, 75%, 75%. So gosh, here's what I find so cool. And the reason that we go to conferences and the reason I seek amazing, talented people like Keri out. And by the way, Keri and I go to conferences together. There's nobody I know that takes more notes than Keri. She's sitting in the front row. I'm telling you guys, this woman executes like a boss. She comes out and goes, Shayla, what are your takeaways? What are your execution items? And she's literally got 8 of them written down, circled, and she's already gotten back to her team and like 4 of them are already changed and executed into her process. So how do you become great? How do you keep expanding your confidence, your self-worth, your swagger? How do you feel like you can be playful with people and not so freaked out on the inside? You invest time into yourself. You re-listen to this recording. You do this stuff over and over again. You go print that needs analysis that Keri said, and then question yourself, did I get to the emotional root of what these clients wanted? Keri, I think this could have been a 3-hour training, which is why I'm so happy that you are going to present in person, because no matter what topic you cover, and I know what you're going to cover is what your team is needing the most right now. You always are thinking about what is relevant. I'm not here to impress. I'm not here to like get accolades. I'm here to make a difference and be helpful. And I think that's what you did today. For everybody here, if you believe you're worth investing in, this event I'm putting on is only $500 because I know how challenging it is in the market. Keri and I, going to often the conferences we do, spend $5,000 to go for a 2-day conference. And so I don't want you to be confused based on the price that this isn't of the highest caliber and quality. And people like Keri are going to be hanging around at the breakout, at the networking, at the cocktail party. So you can go specifically ask questions to these guys. So I dropped in the chat the Path to Wealth agenda. So you can go through the agenda. It's at a beautiful retreat location in Reno, Nevada, on multiple acres. The vibes are amazing and high. There's no negative bad apples allowed. It is only pure positivity of really hungry, humble, coachable, vulnerable, real, raw people in the room. We're going to talk about building your 10X vision for your life, building your wealth plan, effective social media tactics, masterful negotiation, being able to say, I'm going to lead the negotiations for you. We got John Cheplack, who coaches the biggest CEOs and team leaders and agents, and then top producers. It's both lenders and realtors. Why? Because now more than ever, we need to ride together. I'm so proud of the loan officers on this call that went out and invited their partners to this call, Keri, because it is stuff like this that we are dying to bring to our agent partners to say, what could you do? And then what could I do? Because I'm telling you, the difference in our meetings of pre-approval, if they do a reality check with you agents, is totally different. We are able to zone them in and handle all objections. And it's so efficient because of the work you do and the work we do. So I could go on and on. I will send you guys the little bios of everybody here, but go ahead, Keri.
I was just going to say, for the lenders that are on here, I came up with a marketing idea. I promise if you guys are at the event, I'm going to just share what we're doing on our team. And some of your agents right now are stressed because they can't sell their listings. I can teach you guys how to get those listings sold and get you guys multiple loans for every listing that your agents have. I'm like, right now. So come find me at the bar at the event.
Well, that's the hardest close that we're going to give you, is come find me at the bar and I'll teach you how to make more freaking money. In all seriousness, Keri and I are very passionate about helping each and every one of you make your dreams happen, break through your limiting beliefs, level up your process. I already have 87 tickets sold. This is only a 200-person event, so it is going to be very intimate. And because it's both realtors and lenders, people are coming together. I have people coming, going to Tahoe for the weekend before. I got people flying out and going to Napa for the weekend before, and then coming to Reno.
I want to join the Napa crowd.
Yeah, I know. So it's just going to be epic. Hit me up on social media if you have questions. Keri, once again, you rocked it. Like, seriously, a page of notes. And thank you for everybody for spending your time with us. Have a great day.
Thanks, Shayla. Bye, everybody.